Hi, hey, hello, it's Sunny, and welcome back, my music peeps, to an album review. Beyoncé. I think everybody knows Beyoncé, right? I feel like at least here in America, I feel like everybody has to know who she is. She's one of the most popular mainstream music artists ever since her breakout Crazy Love. And, like every other music artist, I never really got into her music like that. Growing up, I've obviously known of her as an artist, and I heard some songs on the radio growing up, but I was never really into her music like that. I'm a guy, so I listened to some women artists, but I wasn't trying to listen to too much of it. Not in a sexist way, of course. People like that music, that's perfectly fine. But obviously, now getting into music properly, I've said this story a million times before. I wanted to review about Beyoncé album, and this is one of her more latest works, and everybody says it's incredible, it's amazing, it's fantastic, one of her most defining records. So I thought, why not? Let's do something a little different. Try to review a Beyoncé record, and really see this as a way for me to get into her music proper and see why she's so beloved, and whether or not she's really worth all the hype. And listening to this album, is that true? And I think you're gonna find out in this album review of Beyoncé's Renaissance. Let's get into it.
Yeah, baby, you'll be on my mind. It's like easy next time.
Some background. The 2010s was a prime time for Beyoncé after releasing banger after banger, and of course COVID-19 hit. So as she was isolated in her own home, she decided to escape her isolation by creating music, discovering a new angle of it, crafting music that represented her culture and building upon her legacy, feeling a renaissance in those times of wanting to escape, and nurturing that in her music as best she can. Working on her album, she sought influence from post-1970s black ball culture, dance music, and club culture, having been introduced to it from her Uncle Johnny, but wanting the album to celebrate underappreciated pioneers of dance music. The first track off the album, I'm That Girl, is very addictive. I still remember it very well after, I listened to this album a while ago. And I gotta say, I really do enjoy this song a lot. It is very memorable. It's very simple, but it's very catchy. It leaves a great impression on me as an opener as well. It's so memorable, addictive, and just straight up listenable. The mix, the backup vocals, her delivery, the fun chorus, the straight lyrics. It doesn't even just set up the album. It's just some good ass music that doesn't feel cringy in the slightest. Cozy, I think, is I got a question for Cozy. Does Beyonce always get down like this? Because this song really does hit. I mean, it's just genuine heat. I love how she just kind of fucks around and does whatever, and I love it. This track feels so jamboree in its nature. The punchy tone, the wallowy overall melody and progression, and Beyonce being on point with her vocal delivery is spectacular. Like, damn, this is the pop music I've kind of been fiending for. This track alone just makes me want to check out her entire catalog. Alien Superstar, I know, is very, I remember it whenever this album was coming out. This song was definitely on the radio a lot, and even though it's the most recognizable one to me, it's not my favorite. I honestly think it's one of the weaker tracks across the LP. It's not bad at all. No, it's not even good. It is a great song. I do appreciate what it's going for with the alien bass wonkiness, and it is very successful in all of it. It doesn't fully gravitate me the entire time. I love the chorus, the many different elements in the melody works really well, and the soundscape, what it's going for with that 80s synth-heavy sci-fi sort of feel. But I don't know, it's just not really my personal favorite, but I do adore it. Cuff It, I think, is generally the best track so far. I say this while my album reviews, but this album's really got a lot of bangers, and I think Cuff It afterwards, it does stand out a lot. I think that this is the song that really sets the bar for what this album's going for, and to me, this song is kind of what pop music is all about. The hook, the groove, the beat, the delivery, the chorus, the glamour, and sparkly aesthetic. I'm into this. The track perfectly flows from the catchy hook into letting B just say what's on her mind and allow things to paddle back a bit, yet still consistently be progressive. Like, this is a modern classic right here. I'm all for this. This is pop at its finest. Energy with a feature of Beam I like it. It's not the best, yet I do like it. I think what holds it back is that I'm not a fan of every single element thrown into the mix, either being replaced or changed. It could have made the track hit more in its mix and melody, yet overall, I still like it. Um, Beam and Beyoncé deliver very different performances, and yet the switch up does go crazy hard, and it still works well in cohesion to make this a very fun, shorter song amongst the track list. Break My Soul is for sure definitely there's definitely one of the best tracks off the LP. It has that very old school shit I really adore. Very dance pop club music energy. I love the sampling of "Show Me Love" from Robin S. It just works really well and creates a great mix alongside the vocal sample. Just very much a throwback to older music. It feels authentic for obvious reasons, and also being renewed at the same time. It's definitely one of the best tracks off the LP. Maybe I'm just a simpleton, and when it comes to pop music, pop music, if it's just a catchy hook and gripping melody, it gets me moving, even if it's simplistic. But what can I say? I'm a simple guy. Like, when it comes to pop music, if it's just a song I will revisit constantly, and it's got a good hook, and I listen to it a lot, and I'm enjoying myself while listening to it, I mean, that's all I could really ask for. This may be an unpopular opinion, but Church Girl, I think, might be one of the weaker tracks, probably the weakest track off the entire album, honestly. It's the one that doesn't really leave much of an impression or stand out to me. It's not bad. Again, I don't think there's generally like a terrible song on this album, but this one's the closest to being kind of mid. I do appreciate the gospel energy it's going for. I really do. I just don't think the mix is hitting it. The production. Every element works on its own, yet it doesn't fully work well in cohesion. It's kind of a song that feels very confusing to listen to. The backup humming, everything about it, it just, because it's trying to go for a gospel feel, yet it has that shaking ass mentality it's going for. And I don't really have a problem with that mentality. There's a lot of songs like that. It's just, I just feel like it's doing a little bit too much, and maybe this one just needed a little bit more cooking to make it a little better, but that's just me. Plastic off the Sofa, I generally think this might be, like, I think it's crazy how we just went from the weakest song of the album to, like, easily the best one. Like, easily, like, oh, like, wow, this is actually a very addicting track. This is definitely one I'm going to revisit a lot. I love the throwback to dance music, and but this one, it's very soulful. It's like it's a song that makes you really think. It's slower, it's steady, it's focused, it's emotional, and Beyonce is delivering like the performance of her life here so casually with such confidence. Her vocals are heavenly. I love the progression. It's so jumpy and flows naturally with a well-paced tone, and the lyricism has truly captured me this time. It's nothing uncommon, yet feels like this is a song ripped right out of the oldie era, and it's just a golden masterpiece of a song right here. It's just generally this is definitely a track I will revisit a lot. Like, this is a very, 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 very great track. That if there's any song I would recommend off the album, it's definitely this one. To go from the previous track into Virgo's Groove is absolutely insane, because this could also easily be, like, I think this and the prior track are probably the best two across the whole album. Like, they're going band for band here. This is the weirdo shit I love. It's just so groovy and crunchy. I love the bop beat mix. The progression and flow goes crazy. The lyricism is so much fun. You can tell Beyonce had fun doing this one. The backup vocals work so well collectively. It's a song that makes you really just want to dance. And honestly, this could have worked right up there with Beyonce's older tracks back during the Destiny's Child era. This is such a 2000s top 1 radio hit, and nothing of it feels corporate. It's just a great throwback bop that I really heavily enjoy. Move, with a feature of Grace Jones and Thames. This is kind of the bad girl energy I was looking for, from the prior tracks, what they were trying to do. I think this is the definitive version of that. What that direction's trying to go for. I think the mix is perfectly pounding on beat. The right sounds thrown in to add the jungle atmosphere. Grace Jones and Thames greatly add to the track. It feels like a trio doing their shit. That this is just what they were made to do. The writing is great. It's nothing like the pop, I'm a bad girl energy that I kind of disdain from a lot of songs. It really is just people being badass and threatening in a non-corny way. It's it's compelling and fun to listen to in the right kind of version of a song going for this direction. Heated, I think, it's definitely number 2. Like the other tracks I said before that were, 2 tracks that were number 1 for this album, I think Heated is very much the second on the podium. I think this song really gets me grooving. I adore the Afro beat. It continues a little bit off move. Only it's a little bit more calmer. Beyonce is kind of taking out her frustration, yet not really screaming or yelling at all about it. It's very much like she says in the track, it's testing her patience. She's laying out her issues and her individuality and not being mad about it, just frustrated like any of us. I love the backup vocalist, and it's just a very catchy chorus that got me repeating it 10 times. I just really adore the energy that it's going for. It's very intellectual and creative when it comes to songs about frustration like this. I don't really know how to feel about the track Thick. I think that's how you say it. I'm not even joking. Like, half of me, like half of the song for me, I'm just very like, I wouldn't even say uncomfortable. It's just like, you know what I'm talking about. And then the other half, I'm just, I'm kind of vibing. I'm kind of loving what it's going for. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad. I wouldn't even say it's the weakest song across the album. I'm just like, okay, I'm feeling, it's like, it's a very vice versa song. It's very like mood swinging in its nature. This one's kind of hard to talk about. I honestly, I would say I do appreciate the song. I do like it, but it's very it's a very confusing experience of a track to listen to, honestly. Now, my only complaint about the next track, All Up in Your Mind, is that I generally just wanted it to be longer because it was just hitting the entire time. For such a short song, I would say this is number 3 podium. For such a short song, it's just like I'm feeling it every single second, and I just wish it was longer so I could enjoy it even more so. And that's honestly probably the biggest complaint I could give to any song on this album. It's a power song that is calm and focused and condensed. Like, she wasn't kidding when she said she was gonna get all up into our minds, because the song just works. It just works really well, and I just wish it was longer, because it honestly could have been even number 1. Honestly, the way the song was. America Has a Problem. I think this track's kind of hilarious because you kind of go into it expecting like a very political, song on some like Kendrick flow shit, and no, it's just about her and a guy trying to fuck, really, But I do like what the songs, it describes love as kind of like a coke addiction on some like Tony Montana business, and it's quite humorous and it works well with the production. It's just. It's a funny song, and honestly, it being this humorous adds to the album instead of takes away from it. And I don't know, I just kind of appreciate when an artist is just on some goofy shit. I appreciate that. The penultimate track, Pure Honey, I think it's honestly also kind of hilarious. I kind of love how at this point of the album's just like, screw all logic, let's do whatever the fuck we want and roll with it. It's a fun mix-up. Like, it sounds like something I would hear on a band PSA program, because Beyonce and everybody was just high as fuck and on some wild shit, and that's why I got banned. And I love the energy put into this. It's all over the place and wacky as hell. That I love it. I'm a simple guy in a way. Also, like, I just love weirdo shit. It's sweet and pure like honey, and it's just great. It got me smirking, with the writing and stuff. It's genius. I just love weirdo energy. We need more of this in the world, And then of course we reach the closer, Summer Renaissance, and it doesn't really feel like a closer. It's just a great song to end the album that culminates what it's all standing for. I adore the sample from Donna. She's really going all out with her delivery here. It's truly magical talent status at its finest. The retro synth 80s key progression and wacky sound production is marvelous. It's just right up my alley, and really is the most creative flowing track across the entire LP. It's going nuts all over, and it's spectacular, just like the rest of the album. And this song kind of really shows you what the album's really going for in the end. And overall, my thoughts on Beyonce's Renaissance is that, again, I wasn't a fan of Beyonce growing up. And it's not anything against her or anything, I just, I didn't really find the opportunity to get into her music like that, and but I knew she was a big star, and there was fans all over that adored her, and that's rightfully so. Anybody's a fan of anything, you know. But now doing YouTube, these album reviews, so my blog, Musicboard, I finally had the chance, and honestly, I think to answer the question from earlier, I think this couldn't have been a greater album to get me into Beyoncé proper. I want to check out her whole discography right now. Let me know if you guys want that, because there's generally not a really bad song on this LP. I think Church Girl, though weak, it's like the only one song I really, it's kind of forgettable. Every other song I think is just generally great. And even if Church Girl, I appreciate the effort it's really going for. Everything is consistent and the production is all over the place in the best way. Beyoncé is really talented in how she can range from many different tones and aesthetics, and it truly is best showcased here. Every track could be easily a favorite, and they are all favorites of mine, easily. The album's core idea of Renaissance is all over the songs. This is a great sort of collective standalone album where even though every track, no matter how different they are, and it's great to it, they all share the same theme that, during this era when Beyoncé was working on this album, share. And a Renaissance, a celebration of just having fun, for her and music and all of us, just creating a project to help us through times that not even just relevant to that era of history recently, honestly, for any era of our lives, To me, I think that's what pop music is all about, and I think that's a greater compliment I could give any album, especially for Beyonce's Renaissance. It's been Sunny. This has been this album review, and so long, farewell, and goodbye, my music peeps.
I can try to get a picture of the mystic.